Namaste, everyone, which means my soul reaches out to yours in this beautiful gathering here. Thank you, Edwin. After that music, it feels like we were on a hot air balloon ride, and I have to bring you slowly down and not crash land you at all. So, first of all, they say Dubro Yenku, in beautiful Slovenia for good morning. And I hope you're having a wonderful summit. The first thing I want to say is thank you to the Wellbeing Project, to the Wellbeing team for having us all here. We have to recognize that the Wellbeing Project is a really unique international organization and effort supported by several donors who have finally recognized this absolutely essential work to be done to look after the well-being of the social sector, people like all of you who try to look after the greater good of society. So you know what? Let's just hear it for the Well-Being Project and the Well-Being team today. First of all. Thank you. Thank you, Peggy, Mighty, Aaron, Sandrine, everybody. I can't name so many names, but thank you for what you do. Because in that work, there is no solution. You can't solve this. You can only continue to resolve this and evolve and continue until we all develop the resilience and the approaches to look after the well-being of all of us who work in this sector. So it's very important to look after the well-being of the people of this sector, the social sector, whatever you call it, change makers, people who are born to try and help others, because as we heard, that is what human beings do. That is the first thing human beings do. But when I think of how do we describe the people, thousands and thousands and thousands of people I have met in the last 35 to 40 years that I started both journalism and working in the social sector and then becoming a philanthropist. I was always fascinated by spiders. Spiders have been around for 100 million years. There are many, many varieties, each more fascinating than the other. But do we think when we see their webs, how does a spider cast a web over empty space? The spider is here, okay, the spider produces this fine single thread, but how does he put the web across nothing? And I read about it, and you know how they do it. Okay, so the spider waits, he finds some other place that he wants the web to land, he or she. He starts spinning that very first fine adhesive thread, and then, because he has to cross that empty space, he or she has to wait for a faint breeze, which allows that thread to be thrown across and latch onto something else. And after that, he can make the second thread and the third thread and the fourth and create those glistening miracles that we see all over the world. You know what? I think each one of you is like that faint breeze, like that gentle breeze that allows all of humanity across society, state, and markets. All of us are ready with our threads, our projects, our ambitions. But without that gentle breeze, we cannot land that thread across to the other side. So, gentle breezers, thank you for all that you do, and let's hear it for each one of you. Let's celebrate. Without you all always doing what you do every single day, there would be no worldwide web of humanity. So, but I know it's very, very, very hard. It's not at all easy because all of us, many of us who work in this space, we have a lot of empathy, and sometimes that can drain us because empathy is different from compassion. In the Buddhist literature, there's a lot about this. So we have to constantly learn. Empathy is when we feel other people's pain, but compassion is when we can act on it without destroying ourselves. And the Wellbeing Summit is all about finding ways for us to improve our pathways to well-being. So in the little time I have, I'm going to talk of two things. One is, I've always believed that we need a global movement for body intelligence. We just heard Richard tell us how wired we are. This body is the only thing you come with and the only thing you go with. All the material possessions, unfortunately or fortunately, you cannot take with you. But this body is yours. And we don't even know the beginning of how the miracle of this body functions. And we have learned and we know that it's constantly trying to heal itself. If we listen and we learn, we can first of all, with this body intelligence that we develop through meditative or other practices, learn to heal ourselves in the face of all the trauma that you all see every day. I had terrible coping mechanisms. I used to be quite empathetic, and when I went outside and witnessed so much poverty and injustice, I used to come home like a broken bird, and I didn't know what to do, and I would flail out at the people around me. Anger comes rather too easily to me, not so body intelligent yet, but I'll get there when my next life. Today I saw I could be like those people we saw. Oh my God, I want to be like. But then I will be, yeah. But so trying to develop this, I think that's what we should learn from each other and from emerging science. How can we allow this miraculous body of ours to heal ourselves? So all of you, spread a global movement of body intelligence so that we can learn in ourselves to be rooted, to heal and keep on healing and get the strength to do our work every day. I think the second thing I want to turn to is the body. Where is this body rooted? This body is rooted in nature, in ecology. We are continuously in the embrace of nature. We are nature, we are evolved from nature. And I think the other global movement we need to restore is ecological intelligence. The theme of this conference, the theme of this summit is ecological belonging. And that's very, very important. All our indigenous communities, all our forefathers, our ancestors, I come from a country with a 5,000-year known unbroken record of respecting, revering that we are part of nature, the sacrality of it, knowing that we are but a small piece of a complex puzzle and that everything has a right to live as much as we do, and letting that idea nourish us. So ecological belonging, ecological intelligence is about knowing that everywhere around us life thrives. Life wants to thrive. Even in despair, every cell wants to live, survive, and thrive and flourish. And to learn from that, I was in Brazil in the Pantanal. Everywhere I turned, there was life, from the smallest of toads and frogs to the most fearsome of jaguars and everything in between. Hyacinth macaws flying. Oh my God, I'm still feeling that embrace of nature. But even when we are in our urban, you can be in a skyscraper, in an urban slum, or in a forest. Everywhere is throbbing with life. Cockroaches, mosquitoes, flies, and ants are as important as the magnificent elephants that roam my land. The tiniest flower pot on a small balcony is as important in this complex web as the giant redwoods in the Yosemites. And we are all in the middle of all this beauty. We have to open our eyes, open our hearts, open our senses to it, because that will nurture us, root us, give us strength to continue our work. So I talked of body intelligence, ecological intelligence, to feel this ecological belonging. And I want to know, oh my God, it's only 5 minutes left, what happened? But you know what? When we do these two things, you know what happens? It allows us to hope. When you look at the life throbbing around you, the smallest to the largest, it allows you to hope. And I want to talk about hope because in these very dark times, I met just yesterday 3 people, one from a Bosnian war where there is now peace, where she had to live in a basement for 4 years. I met someone from Palestine where the wars never seem to end. A just war, a just request that is not getting its final peace. And then I met the artist from Taiwan, and you never know what's going to happen there. And all these people are still continuing to do their work every day with hope. Because hope, and many poets have written of hope as that feathered thing, or that very fierce thing that we have to hold and instill. Hope, we need a movement, a religion of hope around the world. What is hope? Hope is not false optimism. Hope is not lazy. Hope is not stupidity. Hope keeps us strong. It keeps us able to get up in the morning and be fueled to move for right action forward. Hope is fuel, hope is energy, hope is fierce, hope is gentle. Hope is a faith. Hope should be that religion which unites all of us and does not divide. And I think we are so wired to help other people that we need to believe constantly in this idea that everything can change. And it does change. We think we are in the middle of the sixth extinction. You should read Chris Thomas's book, Inheritors of the Earth. You know, there is no perfect point in the past that we need to go to. Together, we have to make more perfect points in the future. Just as we are erasing hundreds of species with human activity is also creating new ecological niches where many new things are thriving and surviving. We have to open our eyes to see all these kind of changes, all these abilities to stay and persevere through injustice, through wrongs, through war, through climate change. That's what allows us to hope, and that hope nurtures more hope. It's infectious. You know, today it looks like there's climate change, there's war, there is polarization, there's terrible politics, there's still poverty, there's still hunger. But you know what? If we all can come together, my friend Adam Warback always says, imagine this is the first time in known human history that something like climate change has brought all 8 billion of us together on one project to heal and nurture our home, to regenerate instead of extract from this beautiful, miraculous planet. Imagine what can be unleashed by 8 million people on a single mission. I have come to believe in my old age that I don't know if I'll be here to see it, but I think it's a matter of just a 25 or 30-year period. I know it sounds long right now, but it's not that long. It's a twinkling of a moment. I believe, especially because people like you continue to work every day, that in the next 25 years, if we can hold all our energies together, if we can be our heads and our hearts hold together with sanity and compassion, I believe in 25 years, the world is going to be a completely different place. When my 8-year-old grandson becomes 35 years old, there is going to be a post-fossil fuel world. There's going to be an aging population, which is a good thing, young folks, because we might need more fancy, smart wheelchairs than roaring Ferraris, and that means a whole different kind of consumer, post-consumer culture. I think because we'll have experienced so much of the worst of climate change, there's going to be a wiser, calmer politics. So these 3 things, I do believe, are going to change the world in the near future. And you all, gentle breezers, faint breeze holders and makers, have to hold that wish, that light, that lamp inside yourselves. Keep lighting it. Don't create light pollution. Just create enough light so we can see the real light of the stars above. And keep, my dear friends, this wonderful community in this well-being hearth. Keep on pushing out your gentle breeze so that the worldwide web of compassion, humanity, and ever beautiful change keeps on happening. Namaste and thank you so much.